Nintendo, you confuse me. Recently, a ton of Switch Pro related rumors came out, and I'm gonna go through them and explain my thoughts. Taking it from the top with the September 29th, 2021 Bloomberg report by Takashi Machizuki and Olga Karif that was published entitled Developers Are Making Games for a Nintendo 4K Console That Doesn't Exist. They go as far as to name a developer studio Zynga, who's behind the new Star Wars Hunters game for mobile and Switch. But why would they need 4K? I don't exactly know, but for now, let's just move on and chalk it up to just they have it for reasons, like most developer kits. I'll just use a clip from my Gaming News in a Nutshell September 30th video to explain the rest of the article. Bloomberg released a report today stating that Nintendo did in fact make 4K development kits, however, they never actually turned into real consoles. Some developers do have their hands on them, and we might see something with that technology in the near to far out future. Nintendo quickly denied the rumor of a Switch Pro as they did a couple months ago. I definitely do think the tech exists and that we will see something with it within the next 2 years. However, I would much prefer a full-on Switch successor. The very next day, some of Nintendo's patents went public and they contained information regarding none other than 4K AI assisted upscaling, which is a technology that is very similar to NVIDIA's DLSS, or Deep Learning Supersampling. Considering Nintendo's partnership with NVIDIA for the Switch, it could just be DLSS. Specifically, they were going to use tensor cores found in NVIDIA's RTX cards. However, this feature was seemingly scrapped right before the announcement of the upcoming OLED model, or it was never planned to be included in the OLED model. We don't know that for sure. This is where it gets a bit speculation filled, so you can go ahead and click off if all you wanted to hear was the news. But for now, I'm going to ask, what does this all mean? And I'm going to propose some of my own theories as to what Nintendo could possibly be working on. For starters, I think it's pretty clear that Nintendo is not working on a Switch Pro. I can say that with confidence, however, they are obviously working on the next generation Nintendo console behind the scenes. Take a look at the statement they made. There are no plans for a new model other than the Nintendo Switch OLED model, to be released on October 8th, 2021. Call me crazy, but they don't specify the Switch, so it's safe to assume that they're working on something more than the Switch, whether it be related to that console or not. Nintendo's console design is always pretty dated, so I wouldn't expect them to catch up for another year or so. I also don't think it'll do 4K 60 FPS natively. It might do some stuff with checkerboarding, AI upscaling, frame interpolation, but if Nintendo goes with what I would want, personally, a sequel to the Switch that evolves the concept beyond a handheld and docked console hybrid into something more revolutionary than the Wii, then I think that they could have something that would bring in the mass audiences for remakes of their favorite games, for fully expansive emulators for the past however long Nintendo's been making consoles. I think that all Nintendo really needs to do is prioritize software and make hardware around the both modern landscape of video games and what they want to make. Because Nintendo doesn't really care about third parties. They make most of their money off their own games. I mean, Mario Kart 8 is one of the best selling games of all time. Instead, I'd hope that there's a target resolution around 1440p at 60 frames per second in docked mode, like the Xbox Series S, with an upgraded screen in handheld mode that can potentially do 1080p at 60, slight precision upgrades to Joy-Con motion tracking, potential implementations of digital input in the triggers, or adopting a system like Sony's adaptive triggers, and finally fixing Joy-Con drift. Their hardware is definitely beginning to feel dated, so I just look forward to seeing what comes out of Nintendo in the near to far out future. But at the bare minimum, I just want Hyrule Warriors to run better than 14 frames per second. In short, Nintendo is a confusing corporation. They have been and always will be unpredictable, so take every rumor you see related to them with a grain of salt, and I would expect to see anything out of these for at least another year. Don't get too excited, keep your expectations level, always keep your hopes level, especially as the Nintendo Switch OLED model is not even released yet, as of the time I'm recording.